see it, friends, and welcome to The World Transformed. This program is your guide to an astounding future that lies ahead, one that will be here sooner than you think, and one that you have an important role to play in bringing about. At The World Transformed, we want to introduce you to what may be the greatest transformation of them all, the one that begins with considering and acting on the almost limitless possibilities that lie before us, and that ends somewhere beyond the reach of the human imagination. So, when does this amazing future begin? Well, today is the day. My name is Phil Bowermaster, and with me in the virtual studio is my co-author, co-futurist, and co-host, Stephen Gordon. Hello, Stephen.
Hey, Phil. How are you?
Well, I am super fantastic. Happy Friday. How are you, my friend?
Man, I am doing great. We are doing something tonight that I enjoy probably as well as anything we ever do on the show, and that's just, it's a variety show of sorts, right?
Absolutely. It's a big old grab bag of futuristic goodness. This is called Phil and Stephen couldn't think of a theme to to bring the stories together.
Here
and we're not going to pretend.
We are putting the onus on our audience to find the theme. There's going to be a thread. Find the thread.
There is a thread. I'm sure there is a thread.
And let us know.
that runs through these. Yeah. So listen to the three stories and tell us what the thread is. And if you get it right, we will talk about it on the show. Okay, so whoever gets the thread right, you can be immortalized on The World Transformed. So if you're really good, we'll have you on the show and you can explain it to us, which makes life easier for us because then someone else is talking on the show, which is always great. Okay, so with that set up, let's jump into these. This first story is really awesome. Scientists reverse genetic aging and memory decline in rats. So once again, just more evidence that we're at the threshold of serious treatments for human aging. Here we are, making life better for rats.
Aubrey de Grey has long said once we're able to show this in rodents, he said specifically mice, but rats work too, right?
Rats will do.
If we're able to show that these treatments, therapies for combating aging are working there, then money will be freed up. And just start pouring into this. And I've always thought that was wise and a good plan. Here we're seeing it's beginning to happen, right?
Absolutely. And this is pretty technical reading here if you follow this story. But we're talking about regulating calcium homeostasis in the neurons of the hippocampus. Okay, so I know a lot of you are going, aha, I knew it would be something like that. And you were right if that's what you were thinking. But it turns out that a protein that regulates those can have an awful lot to do with bringing back good functioning for spatial memory and converting short-term memories into long-term ones. And it's a very simple treatment to a very complex set of problems. The body seeming to just become older with increasing replication of the cells in the body, and in particular, the degeneration of memory capability over time. But it turns out you put this protein in place and boom, everything is just working an awful lot better for these rats. And if you read, it turns out our brains work a lot like rats' brains where this is concerned. So for those who weren't thinking calcium homeostasis, and I personally was not, that never even occurred to me that was a thing. Turns out that's big and potentially can do an awful lot to take those who are in decline and bring them back. Or, we're talking rats here, but go ahead and use the extension to human beings, or maybe prevent that decline from occurring to begin with, which is which is a really wonderful idea.
Well, this is our second anti-aging story of the week, right? We spoke on Monday about Elizabeth Parrish and what she's trying to do, lengthening.
Yeah, she's using a myostatin inhibitor to lengthen her telomeres. So completely different approach.
Totally different therapy, but again, the goal is much the same: combat aging. And so, I like it, Phil, that we got multiple fronts in this war. Right? We're fighting.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you read at all about neuroscience, one of the most interesting things that emerges is the role that calcium plays. We always think of calcium as being this big factor in bone health and that kind of stuff, and I'm sure that's true. But as a smaller particle floating around in the bloodstream, calcium has this huge impact on our neural architecture. And they talk about a lot of people who are in one way or another neurologically impaired. there's a thing called a calcium channelopathy, where it turns out calcium is not being processed correctly in their body. So it turns out that this one mineral can have an awful lot to do with how well our body functions. And brilliant that they found a protein that restores function or improves function along those lines, and the benefits are wonderful. Yeah, Stephen, I would say we need 10 or 12 more of these, right? Just good, different, solid approaches to fighting aging, fighting the deleterious effects of aging, and I think we're really going to be getting somewhere.
Well, maybe we can kind of direct our audience to say, since we're putting our audience to work this Friday, right? Check out what Aubrey de Grey is doing. Totally different area, right?
Exactly.
His SENS program, SENS. Google that and let us know what's the latest with Aubrey de Grey, since we mentioned him. So,
and since we did talk about what Liz Parrish is doing, and her big push right now is to make this kind of thing legal, this is the sort of treatment that would not have a hard time getting approved, because this could be presented as, here's a good treatment for people who are in decline. And we're always about, well, if there's something we can do to help people who are in decline, then we will do it. And maybe that's the problem with having Liz be an attractive woman in her 40s, right? That she's been going around showing how to keep you from getting older. Perhaps they should repackage telomere lengthening as an intervention for people with Alzheimer's or something like that.
Right. Or perhaps Elizabeth needs to enlist her mother or something and say, now we look exactly the same. It's working. Again, multiple avenues of experimentation, multiple things going on in this. This is not the fringe thing that just a few people are working on anymore. It's beginning to
not like when we started talking about it.
When we started back in 2005, Phil, it was very few people were interested in this at all.
Yeah, and, we're gonna have to come up with some new stuff, right? See, we spend an awful lot of our time just saying, "See, we were right about this." We're gonna have to. As satisfying as that is, we're gonna have to. Get a little more forward-facing.
Why would we do anything different, Phil?
In 5 years, the show will just be that. Well, we were right about that. Yeah, we're right. It'll be 5 minutes, Looks like we were right about everything. Okay, bye. See you next time.
See, we told you so show. Okay.
That's right. That's the
okay, so we're going to go. Let's do something completely different, Phil, in this grab bag show. China's 30-story tall air cleaning tower is a successful test for many 150-story air cleaning towers that they intend to build. If you've read it all about what it's like to live in China, one of the first things that come up, Phil, is particularly in populated areas, cities, it can get pretty brutal, the pollution, right? I mean, places like Denver have similar problems because the landscape. Wouldn't it be great to have a 150-story air cleaning tower right in downtown Denver?
That would be awesome. It would tower above everything else, that's for sure. It would be the biggest structure in town. Well, I guess in most places, a 150-story structure would tower over everything else.
That's
even
tall.
In most of China, it would. But what's interesting here is China is working on dealing with its air pollution problem in a number of ways. One way is they're getting off coal altogether and they're going solar. We should mention this came from Next Big Future, and that Brian Wong has also written extensively about how China's big push to get solar and nuclear going, so they don't have to burn coal anymore, so that they won't have all this soot. But meanwhile, it's like, okay, well, that's going to take a while to get there, so we're going to clean the air up in the meantime. I think that's a great approach. I think that's a very smart approach, and good for them. It creates infrastructure projects for people to work on in the meantime, and it makes the air cleaner. And I'll tell you another benefit of this. In addition to all the probably lives that will be saved by people breathing cleaner air, and not just people not dying, but people not being sick, not being plagued with respiratory illnesses and just all the other horrible conditions that occur because air is so full of soot. In addition to all of that, this is great because this is a proof of concept for geoengineering, right? This is, granted, they're solving a problem they created, but you know what? If we were to implement a geoengineering solution for climate change, for carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, that's also a situation that we created, right? So obviously that's a bigger scale thing, and there's all kinds of issues around how exactly we would do it. But you know what? If China can do this, if they can clean up their air with these, then the idea that humanity can clean up its air, it does. I don't know. It just doesn't sound as outlandish anymore, does it?
Well, we should also mention numbers here, Phil. These towers are said to be able to clean a pretty big area, right?
Yeah. 10 square kilometers.
Yeah. And is that the big tower, or is that what we're seeing? With
I'm sorry. Excuse me. That's the small one. Yeah. I'm not actually sure how big of an area does the big one cover. I'm looking at the. You're right. I'm looking at what the small one does.
Yeah, and so I think that what they were looking for with the big one is something more like 25 miles kind of thing. It's it would clean up a huge area, and what we're talking about is removing about 15% of air pollution for whatever area it covers. So it's a huge area. Reduces about 15%, and I would think, Phil, that a 15% reduction would probably serve to give you about a 60% reduction in health problems. I mean, it just would take a little bit of a percentage reduction in the air quality. I mean, in the air,
it's one of those Pareto things where 80% of the impact comes from 20% of the stuff. Yeah,
that's right.
No doubt.
You reduce this by 15%, and all of a sudden, most people are doing a whole lot better, and I think that's great. That's an encouraging story.
It's just a cool story all the way around. It's cool because 150-story tall towers are cool. It's cool because people are going to be healthier, and it's cool because you're cleaning up the air and you're proving that we can clean up the air. Is there anything not to like in this story, right?
While you're living your extended life, because the rats showed us the way. You're not coughing constantly from the air pollution. So I'm trying to find the thread. I'm trying to help the audience out here. I'm sorry, Bill.
It's okay. Let them work it out, because I think this next one really probably provides it, doesn't it? Our old buddy Elon Musk, and this, by the way, I almost made this whole show just this, but then I thought, we'll put these other stories in and just have some fun talking about various things. Here we go. Elon Musk hasn't gotten enough press lately, so he's tweeted something quite stimulating here. He says, "The singularity for this level of simulation is coming soon." And in addition to that, he added, "I wonder what the levels above us look like. Good chances they're less interesting and deeper levels are better. So far, even our primitive sims are often more entertaining than reality itself." So this is just one tweet from Elon Musk that is just packed with great stuff. Okay, thank you, Elon.
I love how this man's mind works.
Yeah, me too.
Elon, if you're hearing this, you want to come hang out with us, you're welcome to anytime. Anytime. Yeah, he can guest host with us anytime he wants to. We'd love That's right. The door is wide open.
I mean, he wouldn't be a guest because he's right up there. I mean, he'd be providing the. He could take over. Okay, he could be the main host, and we could just co-host with him.
He could interview us. That's right.
That's right. We don't offer that to most people. But let's talk about this. The singularity for this level of the simulation. So, okay, that assumes that we're in a simulation. It assumes that the singularity is about to occur. And when you say for this level of the simulation, I just love that because it implies that perhaps in the more fundamental level of the simulation that we come from, they've already had their singularity. And you know what it also implies? That there might be many more layers below that, and they've all had singularities too, right? I mean, it's just packed in that one statement is this whole cosmology, right? It's just, I don't know, it's just fantastic. And he talks about levels above. I think of them as levels below, but okay, however you want to look at it. The prior levels of reality. I wonder what they look like. And then he comes up with this most provocative of statements. Good chance they're less interesting and deeper levels are better. So far, even our primitive sims are often more entertaining than reality itself. So that's an interesting idea. If we're a simulation...
Well, he is doing his part, Bill, to make this reality pretty interesting. I mean, he is sending a car to a Martian orbit, right? So
yes,
his car. He's
it's
sending
true.
his car. You know, I mean, that doesn't that sound like kind of a Tony Stark thing to do? I mean, I'm sending my Roadster into a Martian orbit. That's pretty cool. So
yeah, absolutely. I think there's something to that. It seems to me that if we are a simulation, we are probably more interesting in some ways than the real world, quote unquote, to the folks who created the simulation. Because why else would you create it, right? If not for entertainment or to learn something. There's something to be gleaned from this particular simulation existing. And whenever we build a simulated world, he's talking about our primitive sims are often more entertaining than reality itself. We do it specifically because they're more entertaining than reality itself, right? That's why we build them. We make them different from the world in an engaging way. I mean, I think he's talking primarily about games there, and they're fun, right? The rules inside a game are different from the rules inside the real world, and that makes for an entertaining experience. So it almost kind of figures that each successive level of reality that follows is going to be more interesting and more high concept than the one before. I don't know. I just never thought about it before. I feel like he says this really profound kind of philosophical thing, and it's a glimpse into the mind of Elon Musk, isn't it?
it's a little offhand remark that makes us rethink something we've been thinking about since we started this, Phil. I mean, we've been thinking about simulated realities from the very beginning, and at least 10 years, and he gives us a fresh perspective. That's interesting.
Absolutely. It never occurred to me that our world is more interesting than the world of the designers of the sim. And arguably, that is the case. It could very well be true. It's never occurred to me that if we make a simulated world, it'll be more interesting than our world. That worlds, the more artificial the world, the more interesting it is just a really fascinating concept. It is worthy of its own show, but I wouldn't even know what to say about it for half an hour. I keep coming back to it and go, whoa, that's cool. That's just a really fascinating idea. I like that, as far as Elon's concerned, it's not even an arguable point that the singularity is coming soon. He takes it for granted. I think he wants to get to Mars first, right? He'd like to get to Mars before the singularity first.
He sees it as the adjacent possible, and if he doesn't do it, someone else will do it, and he'll be sitting back going, why didn't I do that, right? So
right.
He wants to have that more interesting and richer experience of being the one, right? So that's what he's about. That's interesting. By the way, we need to be watching here soon for the launch of the Falcon Heavy. Towards the end of this month, I believe, Phil, is when they're launching. That'll be interesting to see. This is the first time they've launched the Falcon Heavy, and this is the launch that he's going to send his car into a Martian orbit with. Now, it's
doing his part to make this level of reality as interesting as possible.
As interesting as possible.
Sending one of his electric cars into the orbit of Mars.
A lot of people think that means his car is going to be orbiting around Mars. No. His car is going to be in the same orbital as Mars, going around the sun.
Orbiting the sun.
Yes, it'll be orbiting the sun in a similar orbit as Mars. That's what he's doing with his car.
Very cool. So basically, he's creating an asteroid.
What he's demonstrating is that he can put significant payload out at that level. And that is what he's demonstrating in a very fun way with sending his car. That's going to be playing a Space Odyssey on the radio the entire time.
Perfect.
At any rate,
that's
some pretty geeky stuff here.
I was going to say it's not like we start geek out; we just continue geeking out here.
That's right.
As we slide into the formal geek out portion of the program. Well, I've got this link. You should just all follow it. Furrion Exobionics, shared by Jab. If you don't think that we're moving into a cool future, just check out these machines, okay? We see these Boston Dynamics robots, and those are cool. But I don't know of anything much cooler than these exo machines that these folks are creating. And I actually posted this on Facebook with the message, I need one of these. I really feel like I need to get one of these things.
Well, kind of describe it for our audience, Bill. This is what are we talking about here? It's something akin to what was in Aliens 2, right? I mean, this is an exoskeleton that.
Exactly. It's a quadruped, so it's a little different from the sort of forklift design that they use in Aliens 2, and it's got these two arms out in front that look like tusks. And I love when Jab sent me this. he said, "It's time we talked about the elephant in the room." And that's what it looks like, okay? It looks like some kind of weird mechanical elephant, but it's one that you get to get in and drive, and it's just this powerful-looking machine that has these big arms out in front, and it just, I don't know, it just looks like it would be a real kick to drive this thing, and I see all kinds of recreational and sports applications for this kind of machinery. I think
he moves, this machine moves, right? I mean, that's how you control this thing.
That's right.
He takes a step, and this monster takes a step. This is really cool.
It becomes your body. So essentially, your body becomes this big elephant exoskeleton thing. It's very cool. So check out the video. We're not doing it justice. You got to see it. It's a visceral experience for sure.
Yeah, I mean, again, if you don't check out the video, just know that we are getting pretty close to the exoskeleton that Ripley uses in Aliens 2. All right, that's
Absolutely.
Aliens with an S.
Aliens.
So yeah, it's really cool, and I guess they present it as a new sport, like they're going to race these things or
race them or fight them, or I don't know what they're going to do, but there's all kinds of cool possibilities. That's for sure. They just show one in an arena with a number on it at the end. It's like, so you create the sport in your own imagination. Whatever it is, it'll be cool because those things are cool. So
right.
Anyway, there it is, Exobionics. Now I've got some important TV to talk about here. Stephen, are you caught up on the new season of The X-Files? Have you checked out Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams? Either.
I have checked out Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams. As the father of young children, I have a difficult time finding a time and place to watch it because it's sure not family friendly.
Well, no, it's not a show for kids.
No. I mean,
neither's the X-Files. I mean, I wouldn't let my kids watch that either.
Yeah, but I mean, this Philip K. Dick show is very much...
No, it's adult fare for sure. Yes,
it's very, very much adult fare. But if you like Philip K. Dick and the movies that have come out of that, and there's like, something like 13, 14 movies. I think we counted it up at one time, Phil, how many movies Hollywood has produced from his
It's a lot,
ideas.
For sure, yeah.
It's a lot. It's sort of dipping into that as if that is one universe, right? Because you see multi-breasted aliens and things like that, and that's Total Recall, of course. And you see all kinds of. I mean, they're dipping into all different areas of that world mostly Blade Runner, but it's very interesting. And I found it cool. I just need to find a adult time and place to watch it so that.
Well, it's on Amazon. You can watch it on your laptop.
Yeah, I guess I could. It's just. That's a bit of an issue in my house, but and yours is.
Kids, look away. I'm going to watch some TV for a while. You really can't.
Yeah, I'm going to watch some TV that you don't need to see. What about X-Files? Of course, I watched the reboot season.
This is the follow-up. They're back on now. This is 2 years later, and they've picked it back up again. And well, here's the reason I talk about these two together is I think the contrast is really interesting. And you've got the two creative geniuses here, Philip K. Dick and Chris Carter. Not that they're similar in very many ways, but to me, okay, well, I won't spoil it. I will just say that there's a big reveal in episode 1 of the new season that builds on some of the stuff that happened in that reboot season 2 years ago, and a lot of people are not happy with it at all. Okay, we talked last time about how Chris Carter kind of reboots the whole myth arc whenever he wants to, or he retcons. It's like reading a comic in the today, right? They just
did I say the world would end in 2012? Forget that.
He does that endlessly, and I think maybe it's getting a little tired. Okay, I've only watched actually the first 2 episodes. I haven't gotten around. I've got 1 or 2 more in the DVR loaded, and I just haven't gotten around to watching them yet. The second one was definitely better than the first one because it was more of an MOW, and I almost feel like
Monster of the
Week for those who aren't X-Files fans. I feel like the show just needs to be those now. That they need to the myth arc is actually killing the show. That if it exists at all, it exists for those one-off stories, and that's what I love about Electric Dreams. They've literally, every one of them, if you watch those episodes, it ends with, based on the short story by Philip K. Dick. They have literally taken his stories, short fiction, and turned them into one-off, it's an anthology series, one-off dramas. And what's great about that is anything then can happen. You're not tied to what happened in season 1 or, what's going to happen next season or anything like that. You can tell a complete story.
So they could fast forward into the future 100 years and with totally different people, and it would not feel out of place on that show, would it?
That's right. And you get a complete narrative arc that's done. Right? You see the end of it, and it's like maybe later he wrote a story that picked up on some of these themes, but it doesn't matter. This is a complete piece of storytelling. And I think, we live in this age of everything is marketed to us as a franchise, and there's got to be a sequel, and there's got to be a part 3, and then there's going to be 20 more movies in the series, and you never get a complete story. And with Philip K. Dick, he had these wonderful ideas, these wonderful premises, and you get the whole story right there in the show. So I love that about it.
Philip K. Dick was comfortable in leaving a story at the end ambiguous.
Absolutely, yeah.
Very comfortable in that. And so, and that's the end of the story. You don't get to know whether the guy on Mars is actually on Mars or if he's been lobotomized back on Earth in a chair, right? I mean, you don't know.
Yeah.
And he was very comfortable writing stories like that. I think in part because he didn't know in his own mind what was real and what was not. And
in fact, to that end, without spoiling it, I would say that first episode to my mind could have been more ambiguous. I would have been happy with it if it was more ambiguous. But you know what I think they did is I think they followed what he wrote. I think they're actually trying to reflect his stories, and in that case, he gave it a definite ending. So did they, and without saying anything else. And I won't say. Well, actually, I do want to say something else. I want to say that when I saw that one, I thought, well, this is too on the nose. It's like they understand him, but only at a superficial level, and this series isn't going to be that great. And then I saw the second one, and I was like, well, that's actually not bad. And now I've watched the third episode, the one with Bryan Cranston in it, who, by the way, is executive producer of the series. And now I'm hooked. I'm just like, oh, this is good. This is like, it's like reading a science fiction magazine from the 50s, only updated, and I'm enjoying it very much. But the other thing I want to say about these two together, in addition to the difference between having a ponderous myth arc and being able to watch individual discrete pieces, is both of these shows, the way they're produced, the way they look, the way they're telling their stories, owe a lot to Black Mirror. So if you haven't had a chance to watch Black Mirror on Netflix, check it out, because it has kind of set the stage for science fiction TV as we're experiencing it now. The hard to get with stuff like the X-Files and the really interesting creative new stuff like Philip K. Dick's Electric Dreams. Anyway, I can't really recommend the new season of the X-Files. I'll watch a couple more episodes and check back in. But yes, for those who are okay with adult material, I strongly recommend Electric Dreams. I think it's
so Monster of the Week episode that you did enjoy with X-Files. Was that the second episode of the new season? Or?
It was, and it's a Monster of the Week that was tied into the myth arc, which is a kind of an interesting thing they had going too.
But they were trying to do both a little bit there. That's cool.
Yeah, but it was fun. I mean, there was a lot of banter between the two, a lot of good action scenes. It was just, it felt like a really fun X-Files.
It felt like old classic X-Files. That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
The reason you watch it, you like it when Mulder makes some quip, right, and then Scully comes back with some. I mean, that's what really made the show work. And I don't know, we'll see. I'll get around to watching a couple more, and I'll report back. Right now, I'm very uneasy with the X-Files. So,
yeah.
Have you watched any of them?
Not the latest season.
Not the current season.
I need to check the DVR. I'm sure we have it recorded. I'm sure, and I need to get caught up on that. Hey, have you seen the movie Baby Driver yet?
I have not. No.
Okay.
Who's in that?
Oh gosh, new faces. New faces. The director is actually the director of some of those comedies I love, like Hot Fuzz and what was that zombie movie? That was from over there, and so.
Shaun of the
Dead? Comedian. Yes, Shaun of the Dead.
Oh, okay.
That director that's what he's known for, sort of broad comedy like that. And this is not a comedy. It's there's comedic elements. There's times I kind of laughed and was enjoying it. But you laugh and enjoy it because it's stylish. It's film noir is what it is.
Right.
And so you got this baby-faced kid who's a genius behind the wheel of a car, and so he's a getaway driver. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and I don't want to take too much away. You just have to see it develop in front of your eyes, and highly recommend it. It was well received when it hit the theaters last year, and I just never got around to watching it. And my son Matthew had really wanted to see it, and I kind of wanted to see it too, and so we finally got around to watching it last night and had a good time with it. So I highly recommend Baby Driver.
All right, we're going to check out Baby Driver. And that's kind of out of the norm for the kinds of things we talk about on Geek Out.
It's not much of a geek show, is it? That's but I think geeks would love it.
That's what being a geek is all about. Is you can bring new material in. By golly,
that's right. Our geek audience will enjoy it. So
it doesn't all have to have spaceships and robots. It can just be a good movie. Outstanding. All right. Well, Stephen, it's been a great week. We've covered a lot of ground, and you know what? We're going to come back next week and do it all again. We look forward to having you with us for 3 brand new shows next week. And until next time, live to see it.